cow. How great was it yesterday with people howling at the moon?
Oh, that was awesome.
We ended the show with it. It was a ball.
Yeah,
6:16 at the Loop. Jimmy saw his grandfather, who's been dead for a long time. I don't know if he had a shovel and went to the grave or what happened. And Kevin bought a haunted house, and what he's experiencing will make your blood curdle coming up on the Loop. At 7:30, we're going to have the priest that went into the Gary house, the portal to hell as it's called, over on Carolina Street. And Kathy, we played some of it yesterday and it frightened you, didn't it?
I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
If you smell what Dr. Yates is cooking.
Tom was satanically possessed, and he's going to tell us his story. And I've been around stuff like that. It's not anything you want to mess with. Consultation. Go in and ask what he can do for you. 312-261-0872. Dr. Yates, hairscience.com. Hello. Bill?
Yes.
What's up, Bill?
Hi, love your show.
Thank you, brother.
I got a guess for the mystery movie.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go with Spawn.
It's a damn fine guess. John Leguizamo is the clown. I see where you're going with this. It's not correct today, sir. But Monday, we'll do another one, and you have a chance to win then.
Hello, this is the master of horror, Clive Barker. It's now time for the Mancow Halloween mystery movie.
I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact that you're talking to a dead guy. Now what do you think?
If you know the answer, call the cow now at 312-591-ROCK or 591-ROLL. That's 312-591-ROCK or 591-ROLL.
And don't forget, have a happy Halloween.
The man that was demonically possessed just hung up. I think probably the devil made him do it. Coming up in the next few minutes, you will hear the priest and someone that lived inside the house that they call the portal to hell on Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana.
Hello?
Jimmy?
Yes, sir.
In Hickory Hills, what's your story?
My story, first I want to say I love your show. I listen to it every morning on the way to work and while I'm at work.
Bless you,
Anyway,
thank you. You're one of the smart ones.
Thank you. My story is in 1976. I was about 14, 15 years old. Watched my grandpa die in the hospital of lung cancer. The very next day I was at home, in bed, rolled over in bed, my grandpa was standing there. Scared me to death. I rolled over, pulled a blanket over my head, was shaking worse than a leaf on a tree. But to this day, it has always bothered me because I always felt that my grandpa was there to say goodbye to me.
I had the same deal, dude. I had the exact same deal happen. My grandfather died of lung cancer. I woke up, and he was in the bedroom, and he was kissing me.
Oh my God.
French. He was French kissing me, Kathy. No, it turns out it was just some hobo that broke into the house.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? I got to tell you, the next night, the very next night, I wish I had let him back in. Kevin, what's your story?
My wife and I just bought our first house, and everything at the beginning was all normal. We had the showing, the open house, and all that went fine. But shortly after we bought it, things started going weird. Like the faucets would drip, even if they were completely turned off.
That doesn't mean anything.
Things would be okay. Things would be moved and out of place. Like silverware would be sitting on the counter. Cups would.
Your wife's a bad homemaker.
It could very well be. It culminated at the end. I was out of town on a business trip, and my pregnant wife was at home, and the alarm went off to the point that police showed up,
Yeah.
And
that happened to me 2 days ago.
The
wind blows and the alarm goes. No, the wind blows, the alarm goes off, brother.
Well, they weren't able to find any reason why it went off.
Now, the wind blew. So far, you've told me nothing that's supernatural.
Right.
Do you know I screamed to scare my kids yesterday, just kidding around with them?
That's not nice.
No, I did. Come on, I scare them all the time. I got those masks from, what's the name of that company?
Zagoni Studios.
Zagoni Studios, the #1 mask maker in the world, made in Chicago.
Yep.
And I had on this old man mask. I jumped out. Boogity! Did you know that the alarms went off in our house?
Really?
We have a sound.
Wow.
So I'm worried the next time we have sex, because my wife is a howler.
I have ghosts in my house as well, man.
What's that?
I have ghosts in my house in Blue Island. 1928 house was built. And Ricky Perrin, my drummer, passed away yesterday, 7 years ago, and I heard drumming downstairs. The kick drum, poof, 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 just 3 of them. 3 hits, I went down and nobody was down there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because he had done 3 hits before he heard 3 hits. And then he did 3 more.
Wasn't the landlord looking for his money?
Kevin, what you've told me is not supernatural. Is there anything else that you want to tell me?
I mean, I guess everything that's happened, you could...
Oh, come on, brother. It's nothing. What you're telling me is nothing. But we do welcome your thoughts and stories.
591 Rock, 591 Roll.
Right. I'm the Mancow. This is The Loop. Father, welcome to the program. Really appreciate you coming on. How are you, Father?
Pretty good.
So, you know, what did you experience, or what do you know about this house in Gary, Indiana, that they're calling the portal to hell?
Well, I was called in to investigate the case when the incident happened at the emergency room in the Methodist Hospital in Gary.
What happened? What happened at the emergency room? Now, I don't know about this either.
Oh, okay. That's when the 9-year-old boy walked up backwards on the wall and flipped over the grandmother holding his hands and looked at the professional people in that emergency room, a doctor, the Child Protective Service agent, and the nurse who ran out of the room.
Wow.
And they called the security, called the police, they called the chaplain, and I happened to just be the chaplain on duty covering for the regular guy. He's off on Friday, Saturday, so I just cover for him. And they said, "You're a Catholic priest, can you come over here and perform an exorcism?" And I said, "Well, I have to get permission from the bishop and conduct an investigation, but what you have, if that's described by professional people, there's something quite real happening."
This kid was walking up walls backwards? Is that what you're telling me?
The one time.
Yeah.
The one time. Yeah.
And so did you go to the scene?
No, I gave them my contact information to meet with the family, but the children were taken away at that time. They put 2 of them with the Carmelite home in the area in the Chicago, and another one was taken to a lockdown psychiatric unit. And but I met with the mother and the grandmother.
Now, Father, do you believe that you met at that home?
At their home, where many things are occurring.
Okay, so do you believe it's mental illness, or do you think it was something supernatural happening?
Well, what was described by professional people, the only explanation would be something supernatural. So, but I was going to try to get to the bottom of it, what brought all this in.
So tell me what you've learned from talking to the family.
Well, talking to them, they described what happened when they moved into the house. They've been living there about 6 months before they ran out of the house. And that was the first time they went back after a couple of weeks. But what kind of got the authorities involved was their children weren't showing up for school, and so they were going to take the children to a doctor. And when they went to the doctor's office, things were happening in the doctor's office. One boy was picked up and slammed against the wall, and another one was kind of growling and saying it's time for people to die. And both of them went unconscious after it would like jump from one to another, and then they would go unconscious. So they called in the ambulances to take them to the emergency room. And then at the emergency room, one of the boys, the youngest one that was locked up, he was about 7 to 8. It took about 5 guys to hold him down, and he was growling and flailing, and they had to finally sedate him.
So, how hard? The interviews you did with the mother and the grandmother in the house, how horrified are they at this time?
Yeah, that was the first time they would go in the house after the leaving. And I blessed the house in the beginning, as you usually do, and then I talked with them for 4 hours in total. But the first 2 hours were without incident. But there was something that was mentioned during their description of the whole course of events that kind of raised a red flag to me that the possible person to kind of bring at least some of the stuff on was her ex-boyfriend, the mother's ex-boyfriend.
Was he into the occult? Is that he was doing things in the house, you think?
Not in the house, because she actually went to the house to get away from him. He was stalking her, and he eventually found out where she was living, I think following her from work or somehow he found out where she was living. And there was already things happening in the house beforehand.
What sort of things, Father, what sort of things were happening in this house? What sort of things?
Yeah, the first, when they just moved in, was they would see horse flies in the porch. They were dead, and they would sweep them up one day, and then there would be a whole new series of horse flies the next day.
Well, that's not a big deal. That's not supernatural.
And then the next thing that was starting to happen was it was affecting the children. They would have bloody noses, bloody gums, bloody lips. The blood would kind of be coming on, on their pillowcases when they were at school. All of a sudden, one would have to be sent to the nurse's office because of that.
All right, what else?
Then later on, the mother had 3 kidney ailments. 3 different kidney ailments, but again, that's.
But did they hear voices? Did they see things?
Well, the first thing that they, one time they were awakened in the middle of the night. They thought someone broke into their house and was pacing back and forth in the living room, and so when they turned on the lights, no one was there, but there were these muddy boot prints on their floor.
Well, in Gary, Indiana, it probably was somebody that broke in.
But they didn't find anyone. No. And then another time they would hear someone like walking up the stairs from the basement. Mm-hmm. And so they got kind of scared with that. They would never see anyone. And then they put a lock on that door, an outside lock. And then one time they were watching television, they would hear footsteps coming up the stairs. And then trying to open the door and pounding on the door.
Wow.
And when they went to open the door, no one was there.
That's what we got on our recordings. All right, so how long ago was this, sir?
This was back in 2011. In November, they moved in, and they moved out in April of 2012.
All right, and where are the children now?
They're at home with their parents, with the mom, mother, and grandmother.
They don't live in the house anymore. They moved.
No, they moved to Indianapolis.
And no more incidents?
No, it took an exorcism. There's actually 3 sanctioned exorcisms from the Diocese of Gary, which I performed to finally get rid of it from the mother, which seemed to take care of the children as well.
So when you were performing the exorcisms, did you hear ancient languages? Did you hear, did you experience anything that we understand as being someone possessed? Different voices. What did you experience during the exorcism?
The only thing that she would manifest with her would be convulsions. She would be triggered by different things, would start convulsing. The convulsions would get greater, and then eventually they kind of dissipate, and then she would fall asleep. And when she fell asleep, it kind of indicated that at least one of the demons we were working at to get rid of.
Did you get a name? Did you get a name?
What's that?
Did you get a name?
We got a name on the second exorcism. Before the second exorcism, we got a name.
I don't need to hear it. I don't need to hear it. I don't need to hear it.
No, we can't say it anyway.
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. Anything else that you think people should know, Father?
I would just say, there's always a danger with playing with the occult.
Agreed.
And with
Ouija boards, tarot cards, all this stuff.
All that stuff, yeah.
No, this is good. We do it for good. Oh, this is good. It's like having good cancer, guys. I've been around this for years. It's colon cancer. That's not as bad as liver cancer. Tarot cards and Ouija boards and astrology and psychics, and I'm telling you, stay away from it, because you never know what you're going to unleash upon yourself or your children. And I've seen it time and time again where people think it's just cute. Oh, it's just fun, and it takes over their lives, and it destroys their lives. You want evil? It's there. It's waiting for you. You want darkness? You want to see if it's real? Oh, it's real. But you won't like what happens.
Yes.
Go ahead, Father. You can say something else. I didn't mean to.
Oh, no. You said it very well.
Thank you. St. Stephen, martyr, Catholic Church. He performed 3 exorcisms on the mother, which saved the family, and they escaped what's being called the portal to hell on Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana. I did want to follow up one final question here, because before I hang up on you here, Father, and again, thank you for coming on. But what was the boyfriend involved with that brought all this evil on the family?
Yeah, we don't know exactly.
Witchcraft?
It seemed to be what made her move away from the boyfriend. She found out was married, and it was his wife that found her number either on his phone or in the bill or something, and called her and says, "What are you doing with my husband?" And she said, "Well, I didn't know he's a married man." And so she says, that explains a lot of things, and this relationship is over with. But she kind of said something a little bit more over the top, that you will regret ever messing with my husband. And so they kind of suggest that both of them were involved in something, perhaps what brought their relationship together. But as far as exactly what it is, we knew that when we were seeing if she could move again, but this time no one would know where she moved, and her brother had lived in an apartment complex in Indianapolis, and there was an opening.
Do you think this guy's wife put some kind of hex or curse on him? Is that what you're thinking happened? What are you saying?
Yeah, because when we went to when she moved into that house, and I blessed it and tried to was hoping to break whatever curse there was. She that night, throughout the night, he appeared in her dreams, raping her and abusing her, trying to kill her, cussing at her. She would wake up and try to go back to sleep, and the same thing would recur. And so it looked like that wasn't enough to break it, and so eventually we would have to go with an exorcism to strive to break whatever curse there was. We found out when the relationship first started, that she was missing a pair of Air Jordan tennis shoes, also pictures of family members, including a picture of the family which she wanted to put up, enlarge and put up in the home. She never suspected him. She thought that it was the children or the mother, her mother, that were taking these things. But there was something strange that he asked for on the first night he underwear, the actual underwear there. And she said, "What? Are you crazy?" And she's not sure if he just took it because she had so many pairs, but we kind of think.
Would he use it in some kind of ritual? Is that what you think?
Yeah, some sort of ritual with those things.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Father. Your Air Jordans, boogie. In Gary, Indiana, I imagine those are stolen by ghosts a lot.
Those are like gold in Gary, Indiana.
5 minutes away from 8 o'clock, coming up, the chronicler that covered this story. And what did law enforcement see? We've been cleared to speak with the detective that investigated the portal to hell in Gary, Indiana. It's coming up here next. I'm the Mancow. Audio here from inside the house that we recorded. And again, our thanks go to Gary Zelany, the cameraman over at Fox, who set up these microphones for me. It was recorded on an iPhone, and some of what we captured is too graphic and horrific to play here on this broadcast.
are you?
I'm great. I'm just telling you, I've said this for a couple of weeks now. If I was going to create a character in a movie that's scary, that would come over and Ursula Bielski. I mean, it doesn't sound like a real person. Her picture doesn't look like a real person. She looks like somebody that you would cast in a movie to come over and go, "This house is clean." Ursula, we had on The Exorcist. We got to say hi, officer.
Hey, Ursula.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, you know what?
Len Miller.
We have the police officer on. We heard nurses and social workers. Everybody saw this kid walk up the wall. Ursula, what can you tell us about this haunting in Gary?
Yeah, it's very weird. You know, the one thing that has struck me the entire time about it, researching it, and I first heard about it when everyone else did.
What's the name of your book? I got to go get that today.
It's Haunted Gary.
Haunted Gary. Okay, go ahead.
So I was researching Haunted Gary when the story came out. I think it was around Halloween 2013, and immediately I thought, this would be great for the book. And it was great because, like, a few weeks later, Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures on Travel Channel announced that he had bought the house for, like, $30,000.
I remember when that happened.
Yeah.
And, by the way, that's a lot of money for a house in Gary.
It is. It really is. Yeah, you can get a mortgage in Gary for, like, $5 a month or something like that. It's crazy. So he moved in. He said he was going to live in the house and he was going to film a documentary about it. And I thought this was great because I'd worked with Zach before. I'm friends with his writer and location scout, and I called him up, asked if I could get like an interview, go through the house, maybe get some quotes for the book, and he refused to talk about it at all. At all. Not even like a quote, like I prefer not to talk about it, just nothing. And then we had all these stories that were coming out, in the tabloids online and stuff, that Zach was very disturbed by what was going on in the house. The team was disturbed by it. There were really unusual things going on that they didn't want to talk about. Of course, the Ghost Adventures team broke up. One of the members left, and there was speculation that it was because of the stuff that had gone on in the house. So all of this stuff was happening, and I was trying to, and I called up a reporter who had written this extensive piece for the Indy Star.
I remember the article.
Right, the most read story they ever published.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, she wouldn't give me even a quote about working on the story.
Why? Why do you think all these people, because they're experiencing something so horrific?
I think it's I think that's one of the reasons I think it's authentic, because usually you'll have a lot of sensationalism around stuff like this, and of course there was with Megan's there and buying the house and everything, but the people that were actually involved in it, there was none. And the thing that struck me so much about it was that the caseworkers, the social workers, the orderlies at the hospital, nurses, doctors, all wrote in their reports that they felt the family was spiritually troubled. And even the caseworker said she felt there was something evil that was influencing the family. So I kept, trying to find out more and more about it.
Hey, speaking with The Exorcist that was involved with 3 exorcisms with his family, do you know anything about this boyfriend? Was he into the occult? Was there a curse put on her because she was dating this guy and he was married? That's what the priest thought that it triggered it. And is there a history of... is there a history with this house? Is there a history before this family of something demonic or haunted?
Right. I'm working on that research. I've been working on it for a while, and what Father Michael told me is what I felt too after reading the stories about the investigations that were done in the house, the stuff that they found in the house. He's really a smart guy, and he, assessed that the house is haunted. It does have deceased humans in it, real ghosts, but that there also was a possession that went on, probably by a curse that happened. And I'm Catholic, and I always thought, the church didn't really believe in curses. I thought that the church only believed in, the power of suggestion, that we think when you put a spell on somebody or whatever, it's just a suggestive thing. The church actually believes, I discovered several years ago working on something else, that curses are real. And the problem with putting curses on people is that when you get that object, piece of hair, photograph, as Father Mike mentioned, something like that, to use.
Well, he got her underwear to use.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. When you do that, you're actually calling on not the spirits of dead humans. You are calling on demons to serve you.
Well,
so that's a problem.
Yeah. All right. It continues here. We've got Len Miller from the Gary Police, and we also have one of the top paranormal investigators in the world here. We're going to speak with them exclusively coming up in just a few minutes about the haunting in Gary. It's coming up here on The Loop. Hang on. Ursula.
Yes.
So the thing about this Gary haunting that made the newspaper, made it the most read story, that makes your book, that makes this cop here, Len Miller, and that's so fascinating is the fact that nurses and hospital people and cops and others experienced something as well, right? It wasn't just some kook alone in this house. This was witnessed by a lot of people, and we've talked to people that drove by and saw things, and we recorded some strange audio from inside the house. Have you been inside the house?
I have not been inside the house. By the time I heard about it, it was already, it was still being rented out by the current owner, and by the time I got there, it was owned by Zach Bagans, and he had all of his security cameras up that are still up there.
Are we ever going to see the footage that they got from the house?
I'm hoping. The documentary is supposed to come out in, everything says, fall of 2015, so we're waiting for it. We haven't heard any news about dates or anything yet.
So as a paranormal investigator, when you went by the house over on Carolina Street, did you feel anything?
I felt something about the house, and there have been people that live in the area, have lived there for years, that said they always would see the kids outside. The neighbor said the kid would walk into the yard and just stand there, one of the young kids.
Yeah, I'll tell you, they called me yesterday. That neighbor called me yesterday on this show.
Right. Now, what was really interesting, too, is that one of the things that was going on in the house is that one of the children would always be heard in his closet. He put himself in his closet and closed the door, and he would be heard talking to someone. And he said he was talking to this little boy who would tell him what it was like to die, which led Father Maginot to believe that there had been a child that had died in the house or been killed in the house. And some of the objects that they found under the basement stairs, Father Maginot believed might have been used by perhaps the parents of this child for necromancy, to actually raise the dead, hoping to communicate with their son again or something like that. So that's a possibility for the sources of the actual haunting of the house, rather aside from the possession.
Look, I believe in demonic forces. I believe in angels. I do not believe in ghosts. In other words, I believe in familiar spirits, preternatural spirits. I do not believe that when we die, maybe it's a residual energy. I don't know, but I don't believe in ghosts.
A lot of people don't. A lot of people do believe that if you're having these experiences, they're not coming from people.
I'm not doubting something happened in that house. I've heard too much, and I mean, we have people that have photographed things, and I heard our audio that we got with some unexplained, I don't know what it was. I don't know what we captured. It's frightening. But I don't believe that when we die, we can come back as spirit and hang out. I just don't believe that.
Man with a gun.
Ursula Bielski, the book is
Haunted Gary.
Is out. What's that?
Haunted Gary.
Haunted Gary. I want to go over to Len Miller from the Gary Police Department. Len, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm well, and you?
I'm great, and you? I know you consulted on the book, so tell me your thoughts as you listen to this show and as you listen to Ms. Bielski here and others that have called the program.
Well, the house definitely has some sort of strange feeling about it when you go up to it. I don't know. I didn't get affected like most people did on the strange feeling because of the fact that being a police officer, my entire focus in that area is on who I'm with and making sure everybody's safe. So my police instincts were kicking in mostly.
Yeah.
Now my partner, J.C. Rositas, was with me as well. So Jay may have a different take on it than I did.
Is that him?
That is he.
That's me. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know that.
Let's lower the mic for him a little bit.
Thank you.
I didn't see you over there, little fella.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I saw his partner, almost ninja-like.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, going up to the house, it is really kind of a creepy feeling. I mean, yes, it's in a bad neighborhood. Yes, you do get that feeling all over in Gary, but something there that just, when you look at it, it's, I don't know, there's something just it doesn't feel very right.
That's what everybody says.
And I heard earlier that you were asking if there was any history on that. And one bit that I could share, a friend of mine who did work on the house years ago, well before the family moved in there, he did share with me at the time he didn't feel anything in there, but, what does that mean? That probably means nothing, in this context.
He didn't feel anything.
He didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
But,
so what was going on with the family that you guys investigated?
Well, we got involved in it because Child Protective Services requested our assistance. They were checking into the family because a lot of the children in the family had missed a lot of school.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to figure out why this is happening. And Child Protective Services always requests the aid of the local police department to come in to assist. And that's when some of our officers went into the house.
And what did you hear, or what did you see, or what tell me about that. Do you believe it was child abuse, or do you think there was something, was it child abuse at the hands of the mother, or do you think it was child abuse at the hands of something supernatural?
My feelings, according to the police reports I've read, talked to the officers who were involved as well, and also Child Protective Services, is I definitely think it was a lot of abuse by the family itself.
Oh, wow.
Now, with that said, there was definitely something else going on in that house. There are people who are in the house that I trust very well, that I've gone to calls with. I know they don't panic.
Right.
And they all said the same thing to me. Len, I'm never going back into that home.
They saw people walking up walls.
The nurse at Gary Methodist Hospital did see the child walk up the wall. The grandmother was holding the child's hand, and the child did walk up the wall in the examination room. That was witnessed by a Child Protective Service.
While the grandmother was holding his hand?
While the grandmother was holding the hand.
Why do demons walk up walls? Do we know?
To show their power.
The house was never haunted before. It was up until this family moved in is when all the ghosts came around.
And a lot of satanic and ritualistic stuff involves children.
Right.
I mean, dealing with innocence, dealing with, pre-13. That's the age, right?
Yeah, that's right.
There's a reason for it, and evil delights in corrupting innocence, and
so it's kind of an indirect thing. I mean, they're not provoking it. It's just them being innocent.
Yeah.
There were no ghosts there before, though. It was after the family moved in.
Nothing we can find documented, and I want to stress that. There was nothing
So
documented.
this family was haunted, or is the house haunted?
It seems, based on our evaluation of things, that it looks like it was centered around the family.
Rocky?
Yes, how you doing?
Hey, you've been hanging a while. I want to send you out to dinner. I want to give you something nice, okay? Maybe we'll send you out to eat at Berghoff or something. What's going on? What can I do for you?
Well, it's just, you know what? I'm glad the officers are in there because I Googled this whole thing, and I seen the interviews with the grandma, and I seen the pictures of the mom. But what really got me was when the police were in the basement, and they kept saying it looked like there was a lot of fires set down there. And then all of a sudden, if you watch that video, you're hearing the things that you're not playing on the radio because you're right. I should have never looked into this.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Well, once you dance with the devil, you can't undo it. And I don't think this is stuff we should be messing with. We could send him over to the Hard Rock Cafe to feast. Those burgers we had in here yesterday. Oh. And they brought in the Stanley Cup. When is the Stanley Cup going to be at the Hard Rock? On Halloween night. Yep. They're going to have the Stanley Cup. Tom? You're a ghost hunter?
Yes, I am.
Hang on. I want to hear your story. Are we going to get the beaver on or not? Oh, okay. We got the beaver coming up. Jim Beaver from Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak, the star of that movie, and others coming up here. Hang on, Ghost Hunter. I want to talk to you. We got Ghost Hunters here in the studio.
Last year.
Charlie, I'm very interested to talk to you today, sir. What do you know?
I remember a couple of years back, I think it was, I was reading the Post-Tribune, and you can actually look it up online. They call it the Portal to Hell in Gary, Indiana. I believe it was saying about 2 officers, they responded to a phone call by the mother of those children. She's saying her kids were like crawling on the ceiling and the walls. They thought she was nuts. They were going to lock her in a mental institution. They thought she was on drugs and everything. And the cops went inside the house. They literally went running out of the house because they were in so much fear. Also, I think the grandma, she was holding one of the kids' hands, and the kid literally started walking up the wall and turned his head all the way backwards. So that's a pretty frightening stuff. I didn't know how true it was because I don't believe everything I read in the paper.
Well, I don't either, sir, but so many people, I mean, hundreds of people, you could actually hear it from the street. Let's go to Drew. Drew, welcome to the program.
Hey, that house in Gary, the dude from Ghost Adventures ended up buying that house. It's considered the portal to hell.
Yeah. And, now we have talked about it, and that's why we got shut out of there, is because...
Right, you got that permit and stuff to get in the house, and I know that they did an investigation there when he got in the basement, where the portal supposedly is. The guy that actually videotapes it got pulled to the ground and dragged across the floor. And
wow. No, we went over to investigate, and I'm sure it was before the time that they filmed there, and we were chased off at gunpoint, but not before we got some audio that was blood-curdling. Here's some of it. I don't know what that is. Clinton, hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you a story. I was I had a drug habit, and I was living in abandoned houses in Gary last May. I'll never forget the date, May 4th. And it was about the middle of the night, and I heard something, I heard somebody say, hey. So I got up and I looked, and basically I watched the cabinet door open and then close. And then one of the drawers in the kitchen opened and closed, and I heard a really loud bang, and I ran out of the house. It freaked me out so bad, I thought that I could have been delusional from the drugs or whatnot.
Well, that would have been my thought. That was my thought here, I got to be honest with you.
But, I mean, I can remember it. I've had dreams about it and everything, and I checked myself into rehab the next day, and I've been clean ever since.
Oh, man, well, that story has a happy ending. So I could give the address on the air. I wonder if I should, though. It's a small house in the suburbs of Gary, Indiana.
They're calling it the portal to hell.
And it's so insane that they're calling it a modern-day Amityville horror. And since 2011, these things have been happening. Kids thrown up on the ceiling, a swirling portal in the basement. Okay, so this is not your normal bump in the night kind of stuff. It was a rental home because the original family got chased out. I love that, by the way. The home was infested with voices. Things levitated. The children walked on the ceiling. Nurses were brought in to look at the kids by the police, and they all ran out in terror. The house has been purchased by the Travel Channel so that they can do a series there. And I don't know if they filmed anything yet. So, are you a priest, a preacher, or a pastor? What are you?
I like pastor. That's a better title.
Okay. And you've done actual exorcisms before.
I have. I've done several.
And you've actually seen demons before.
I've seen demonic spirits, and I've seen people absolutely take on forms that's inhuman, that are full of demonic spirits.
You told me once you saw somebody walk up the side of a tree. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Have you ever seen anybody climb on the ceiling like we've seen in so many horror movies?
I've not seen that yet. I've seen one young lady's eyes turn white. I saw a lady speak in a man's voice.
All right, so I sent you over for the TV show that we had on Fox.
Yes.
And what happened?
Well, when I went, I got some advice from you. You said I should call ahead of time the Gary Police Department, so I did. I called ahead of time. I told them I was coming. They advised me not to go, and they couldn't guarantee that they could be there for me to protect if anything happened, so I went anyway. It's there's really not a nice part of Gary, but this is the bad of Gary. A lot of boarded up homes, and this home happened to be totally boarded up. You can tell right when you look at it, it just looks creepy. You can feel, just in not just the property, but around the property, it just felt dark. And first thing I did is walk around. All the windows are boarded up. I couldn't see inside, but I could hear things inside. I knew something was going on in there. So
the house, nobody was in the house. The house is boarded up, but you did hear things inside.
I did hear things inside. Went around the whole property, listened in, and this is something that you didn't tell me to do, but I did try to go into the house to see if I can get a closer look. And once I got to the door and tried to go in, I got surrounded by about 4 people that threatened me with guns and said, get out.
When you saw the demon, when you were doing the exorcism, and you saw something clinging to someone's neck, it looked like something out of the movie Alien?
It did. It looked like, exactly, like the baby alien when they come out of the egg.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that size, and it wrapped around a person's shoulder and neck.
And you also had something like a black shadow, but it was standing in a bedroom and it spoke to you, or did it look like a smoke shaped like a human being, or I forget what you told me.
That's correct. It was a silhouette shaped like an animal, almost like an ape. And it actually physically growled at me, and it made the hairs on my body stand up. It was so real that I can actually smell the breath of that demonic creature.
What about the people that are listening and saying, this is all ridiculous, it's not true?
Well, just because you think something's not true doesn't mean it's not.
Now listen, Pastor Murray, I have been telling people to turn off their radios when I play this stuff. I don't believe in calling out the names. Some of the names were said. It's interesting that these names predate Christ, predate Muhammad, predate Buddha, and these same names have appeared all over the world. And priests will have an encounter with someone that has a name, and then they'll, 30 years later encounter someone else with the same name and personality. Hard to explain, but is there any danger of playing this on the radio that it could unleash something in someone's house, or is that just ridiculous?
I don't think it's dangerous. The people, watch different kinds of movies. I mean, that's like we could go to a haunted house, and I guess that could be dangerous. We have the power to tread on serpents. So if you're a believer, you have nothing to fear, and you shouldn't walk in fear of anything like that. I think, if anything, it gives us wisdom and helps us gain insight that this is real.
Well, I don't believe in messing with this stuff. Kurt?
Yes, Mancow.
All right. I did not know that other people knew about this house. So you live near the house, sir?
I drive past the house almost every single day. I work in Gary. And I've actually stopped at the house, and I've talked to the neighbors. It's a very small, unassuming house. You would never even realize that it had any kind of horrible past to it at all.
Have you ever heard anything? Have the neighbors heard anything?
I've never heard anything, and the neighbors say they've never heard anything. But they're supposed to. The house is covered in cameras, and it's not boarded up. Only the basement windows, which are pretty much too small for a person to get through, are the only things boarded up. But there are cameras and no trespassing signs all over the house on the outside.
Have you heard about film crews being there from the History Channel or Sci-Fi Channel?
I've heard that the guy from one of those channels, one of those ghost hunter guys, was the one that purchased the house, and he owns it as of right now. That's what I heard, but whether or not it's true, I have no idea.
Probably got it for close to nothing, huh?
Oh, yeah. It's a very low-income property.
What about the police reports?
I've heard the same things. They did an excavation from under the stairs, and they dug up a lot of things that they said could have been used in rituals, for sure. I believe one was a pair of girls' underpants. There was some broken pottery, but they did an excavation and they found a bunch of things buried under the stairs, and they say that's where all the evil's coming from, was from underneath the stairs.
Where they are calling it the portal to hell. Brent, what is your story?
Me and my wife went out there back in May, okay? And all I had was my iPhone. So I started recording, and I took a few pictures, and you can clearly hear something telling me to get out of there.
Wow. Were you in the house?
No, absolutely not. Like the guy said, it's all boarded up on the basement.
Right.
I got to be honest, it said no trespassing, but I tried to get in too, and the doors were all locked up. So what I recorded was from the outside.
Here's the thing. For me to be sending people out there, I mean, it's a dangerous-ass neighborhood to begin with, right?
Yeah, I agree with you, but I went at 8 o'clock in the morning, so...
3860 Carolina in Gary, Indiana is where it is. And I think it's a well-known address, yes.
See, I don't have any undercover audio from the portal from hell in Gary, Indiana. Because I'm black. See, somebody says, get out, I get out.
Yeah.
I don't go in. It says no trespassing. I don't trespass.
Andrew, so you live catty corner from the place, it sounds like.
No, across the alley.
Okay.
And these kids, when they were there, were like zombies. Like, they would walk over into my yard and they wouldn't even see me standing right there. It was bizarre.
Was it like they were possessed?
They were possessed with something. I'm not sure what, but there was something.
Do you think the place is haunted?
I've never been inside it. I've never seen anything that they were talking about, but I'll tell you this, it is creepy as all hell.
Here's the first thing that we got on tape. And we played this before. And then you will hear the family. Hold on. Now you tell me what that is. You tell me how you would explain that. Jennifer?
Yes.
What's your story?
So, I just want people to know that this stuff exists. So I used to rent a place in River West in Chicago, great area. And the day I moved in, I felt like this overwhelming desire to put dress forms, in the place. And I'm not a fashion designer, anything like that. And I was like, why do I want these dress forms so bad? So I actually went, I found some dress forms, I put them in the place, and the guy that I was renting the place from came in one day, and he's like, oh my God. I was like, what? And he's like, why do you have these here? And I was like, I don't know, I just felt like I needed to have them. And he's like, the last girl that rented this place also felt like she needed to have them. And I was like, what? So, weeks are going by, and I'm in the place, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I kind of looked at the dress forms, and I had a rug over there. The whole thing moved. The whole entire thing moved. And I was like, what is going on? So
was that the end of your time in that place? I would have left immediately.
No, I got really freaked out. But then, a couple nights later, I used to have, this big vase with, these branches in it. It was like somebody just picked up the branches, and they scattered all over the floor. And I was out of there. That was around midnight.
Yeah, the first thing would have been enough for me. Here is the audio. Let's shut everything down. We're going to play it from inside the haunted house. You will hear the family. There were some things that were said that we can't play, but we're going to play what we can here. It's brief. It didn't last a long time, but you're going to hear it. And if you're easily disturbed, or if you have someone that's mentally disturbed in your family listening right now, please turn off the radio. And although the priest said I shouldn't worry about this, I ask you to please turn off your radio if you're at home right now. And here it is, audio from inside what they call the portal to hell in Gary, Indiana. Now, you heard something. We didn't know what it was. We thought it was gibberish, but it actually was what?
It's ancient Hebrew.
Ancient Hebrew. Now, how do you know that?
Well, I used to be Catholic, and I fell away from the church. I followed King Solomon's ways, which was kind of pagan, kind of Jewish.
She's saying it's ancient Hebrew, and that's being said there at the beginning. Kenny, you were inside the house?
Yes, I was.
What did you see?
It wasn't what I saw, it was what I felt. It was crazy. You actually felt things pushing against you. Actually, in the middle of winter, it was dead of winter, and there was flies all over and alive inside of this house. There was no heat in there at all.
That's often the time, that is a sign of something. Fly infestation and foul smells out of nowhere, and temperature changes. Kevin, hello.
Hey, so I do pest control out in that area, and first thing...
You called out for flies and smells?
No. This was just preventative, but that's actually the nicer part of Gary, Judah, if you can believe that. I actually don't mind that part of Gary, but I was actually maybe 100 yards from that house yesterday and never even knew it.
Kevin, what's up?
Me and my daughter went to a haunted house last week. She wanted to go see that house, and I didn't want to take her, and I took her. There was silhouettes on the porch, and there is cameras on the house, so I just was telling her it's just the cameras doing that. We walked up to the porch, and we started walking around the side of the house, and we heard a kid scream. So we took off running, and she got pushed down.
And there was nobody there.
Then we got in the truck, and we took off. The silhouettes were there. They're there.
Well,
go to that house.
I heard it from a lot of people. I've heard it from a lot of people that from the street they've seen things. But guys, this is a dangerous neighborhood without it being a portal to hell.
Yeah, right.
I think it's best to stay away from this stuff. I really would appreciate appreciate if people don't go there.
Good luck making it there with all the potholes, too.
Tony, hello. Yes, that place is murder on tires. Yeah. What's up, Tony?
I was listening to your show, and me and one of my coworkers were discussing about it, saying if you play that audio backwards, maybe you'll say something.
Well, we didn't even think about that. A woman said part of it was ancient Hebrew.
What do I say?
Hello?
Hello? Mancow?
Yes.
Hey, okay, so this is Tracy. We were in the house. Me and my husband were in the house. This was like 9 months ago.
Well, how did you get in the house?
Well, okay, so after we heard about the house, through the newspapers and all that, and then we heard that Ghost Adventures was buying it, so we wanted to get in there before Ghost Adventures went in there and did the filming, and we're buying it. So we just got in, we got in the back door.
So, okay, so you could have been arrested, you know.
Yeah, I know.
So
but it was okay.
You broke into a house. Let's start there. Okay.
Yeah. It was all right. So anyways, we went in, we left a little recorder in there. We went in the next day. There was nothing on it, though. So what I got on your recorder, when I was listening to yours, that was just totally awesome.
No, it's not awesome. It's something that, no, ma'am, no, it's not awesome. It's something I shouldn't have tampered with. Paul, hello?
Hey, listen, I had a story. We were working down in the city, Chicago. This is probably 20 years ago. It was a fire job, and we opened up this closet, and for the life of me, the picture of Jesus was right there in the smoke etched in the closet. It was the freakiest thing we ever saw. It's just like the battle of good and evil. And as a matter of fact, the carpenter on this job, his name, we called him Satan Dave, but he was an occult high priestess or whatever in the satanic religion. I never wanted to kill somebody as bad as that guy. I wanted to bury my hammer right in his forehead.
I understand. Some people just need a good killing. I've met people like that. John, what's up, brother?
You know, I got a St. Christopher medal in my semi, in my tractor. I'm at a dead stop waiting to get my truck loaded, and you played that audio, and I was listening to it, and I rubbed my St. Christopher medal because it protects me.
Good, good.
I just, I'm Catholic, but these 7 flies are sitting on my driver's side window. I wish I could send you a picture. I would bang on the window, they don't move. I want to turn on, I just freaked me out because once that damn audio stopped playing, those flies came on the window and just sat there.
Wow, man. Very bizarre. Mike, hello.
Here's some of the biggest bull malarkey I've ever heard on your show. This stuff never happened. There ain't no ghost.
Well, then how do you explain the tape that we got, sir? On an iPhone, what is this? How do you explain this?